Would you go ahead and make an appearance, Ms. Mladek?
Michelle Mladek.
And are you Michelle Mladek as to which cause number 55906, this reciprocal discipline is directed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. You may sit down. Are you ready to proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Judith DeBerry for the Commission for Lawyer Discipline. This is a reciprocal disciplinary proceeding brought pursuant to Part 9 of the Texas Rules of Disciplinary Procedure based on Ms. Mladek's professional suspension in the state of New Mexico. The petition for reciprocal discipline was filed with the Board of Disciplinary Appeals on March the 12th, 2015, and the order to show cause was issued by the Board on March the 12th, 2015. Ms. Mladek was served by personal service on March the 23rd, 2015 with the petition and order to show cause by Deputy Mike Wood of the Lincoln County Sheriff's Department. The original proof of service has been on file with the Board since April the 7th of 2015. On November 26, 2013, specifications of charges was filed before the Disciplinary Board of the Supreme Court of New Mexico in a matter styled in the matter of Michelle Mladek, Esquire, an attorney licensed to practice law before the courts of New Mexico, disciplinary number 11-2013-680. On July 7, 2014, a hearing committee's findings of fact and conclusions of law was filed with the Disciplinary Board in the Supreme Court of New Mexico in the same matter. On September the 25th, 2014, an order of the board panel was filed before the Disciplinary Board of the Supreme Court of New Mexico in disciplinary number 11-2013-680. And on February the 18th, 2015, an order was filed with the Supreme Court in the state of New Mexico in the matter styled number 32554 in the matter of Michelle Rene'e Mladek, Esquire, an attorney licensed to practice law before the state courts of New Mexico, and states that the respondent is indefinitely suspended from the practice of law for no less than 2 years pursuant to Rule 17206A3, New Mexico Rules Annotated, which shall be deferred upon certain terms and conditions, and that respondent shall also receive a public censure by this court under Rule 17206A4. The hearing committee found that the respondent violated Rule 16-101, 16-103, 16-104B, and 16-105A. This time I'd like to offer petitioner's exhibit number 1, which is a certified copy of the specifications of charges filed before the Disciplinary Board of the State of New Mexico in the matter styled in the matter of Michelle Mladek, Esquire, an attorney licensed to practice law before the courts of the State of New Mexico. Disciplinary number 11-2013-680. Exhibit number 2 is a certified copy of the hearing committee's findings of facts and conclusions of law in the same matter. And exhibit number 3 would be a certified copy of the order of the board's panel. And exhibit 4 is a certified copy of the order filed in the Supreme Court of the State of New Mexico in the matter styled 32554 in the matter of Michelle Rene'e Mladek, Esquire, an attorney licensed to practice law before the courts of New Mexico. And exhibit number 5 is the original affidavit of Blake A. Hawthorne, clerk of the Supreme Court, dated April the 8th, 2015, which indicates that the respondent is licensed and authorized to practice law in the state of Texas.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Name shall be admitted. You can handle the clerk.
Thank you.
Mr. Berry, do you have anything else you want to present to the board at this point?
Not at this time. We seek a reciprocal discipline with a 2-year fully probated suspension and a public reprimand.
Okay, thank you very much.
I didn't hear what it was.
A 2-year fully probated suspension and a public reprimand. which is the identical discipline to what they imposed in New Mexico.
Did she meet the qualifications set out in the New Mexico order for probating? Wasn't that what you said? It said it was subject to probating if she met certain conditions?
Their terms are similar to ours, not commit other misconduct, that kind of thing. And I would have to look back at that to tell you exactly. As far as I know, theirs was actually no less than 2 years. We don't have indefinite suspensions in Texas, which is why we're seeking the 2 years.
I know, but it was no less than 2 years, and that was probated based on her fulfilling some conditions.
Supervisory lawyer,
Yeah.
CLE, some payment of fees.
Did she do all those?
We have no indication that she has not complied with those terms.
Well, then how is it reciprocal here if you don't know if her suspension was probated or not? Am I not making sense to you? You won't be the first one I haven't.
It's normally, and they're probated until they don't comply. So she can, as far as we know, New Mexico didn't have anything when we checked with them that she had not complied with those terms.
Well, do you know if her suspension in New Mexico is in fact probated?
As far as I know, yes.
And when you ask for it to be probated here, what does the word probated mean for Texas? The same things that are in the order of February 18 from New Mexico Supreme Court? Or what does probated mean to you today for us?
For you, she can continue practicing, but if she violates any terms of the judgment, then that probation can be revoked.
The judgment back in New Mexico?
Correct.
Yeah. Are you specifying any terms of the judgment for Texas?
No, we're not. Any other questions?
I have a question. So that we know if we're proceeding under Rule 9.03 or 9.04, has an answer been filed in this cause?
It has not.
Thank you.
Mr. Berry, let me, the the New Mexico order from the panel looks to be dated October 1st, 2014. Is that correct?
The order?
Correct. The order of board panel I'm looking at.
That's correct.
So she would, Ms. Mladek would have been on 2 years probation from October 1st, 2014 through September 30th, 2016. Is that your understanding?
Yes.
And you're asking for that 2-year probation to begin when here in Texas?
Now.
So she would have 2 years beginning, say, May 1st, 2015 through...
Whenever the order's signed.
One other question. Is it usual here, it doesn't seem like to me I've seen that, where someone would be subject to a suspension that's probated, which obviously happens, and then also a public censure or reprimand?
Yeah, we've had that in one other case that I know of, and it wasn't that long ago. I don't remember which one it was exactly, but in that one we had a agreed judgment.
Would you agree that's unusual for Texas?
I would agree that it's not one that we have. And
Do you even know if it would be allowed for there to be both a suspension and a public reprimand?
And I can only speculate, to be honest. There were several counts against her, so there were several different cases, and it may have been that the panel felt that some of them were less serious than others. I don't know why they did both.
Right, I understand that maybe that's something peculiar to New Mexico. My only question is, do you believe it would be authorized to have both a suspension for 2 years and a public reprimand?
I think it is. It's reciprocal discipline. We're supposed to get it as close as we can to what the issuing state imposed.
Anybody else on the panel have any questions for Mr. Berry?
No.
Once you wait here, Ms. Mladek, you may proceed. You can appear and
Good morning. My name is Rene'e Mladek, and I'd like to just offer a few statements for clarification. In New Mexico, it was one case, not several, and it was a simple matter of being too busy as a solo practitioner and letting this one case fall through the cracks, an immigration case in which two forms should have been filed for one fee, and instead only one form went, and so it cost my client an additional $380, which was refunded to her immediately. The sentence suspension, if you will, I don't know that New Mexico uses the word probate, but it was deferred, and it was suggested that I seek supervisory attorneys to help me learn how to manage my law practice and learn how to say no to every case. Just because they walk in the door is not necessarily one that I need to take, and to defer them or refer them to another attorney, which I have done since the judgment came through at the Supreme Court in New Mexico. There is no criminal history here. There's no malintent towards the client or any of my clients. It was a typographical error that I have seriously come to regret because of all of the negativity exposure from New Mexico and now from Texas. The 2 years suspension, it was deferred. I am still practicing in New Mexico and in Texas, and I have 2 supervising attorneys for both states, one for New Mexico and Texas, and then one for immigration cases. Most of my practice is immigration cases, and I've not run into any other problems in the almost 10 years that I've been practicing, and this was a one-time error, the typographical error that I have since said I'm sorry for. I've accepted full responsibility for, and I'm asking that there's no such negativity to my record here in Texas.
thank you. Well, hold on a second. And does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Go ahead, Ms. Kinzer.
I'm looking at the order of the board panel from New Mexico, which I assume you're familiar with.
Yes, ma'am.
It does say probation, by the way, which I thought that was interesting that you think it's deferred, but to me it means the same thing. It required that you repaid the money to the client, which you said you have done. It requires that you have supervision, which you say you have. I assume you paid the costs, whatever those were, that were incurred by the state of New Mexico.
They're being paid by a payment plan.
Okay. And then it says that you have to attend the 39th and 40th annual immigration and nationality law conferences at the University of Texas at Austin. Have those occurred?
I have attended last year, and the 40th will be in October of this year.
Okay. So you're going to get that completed during this 2 years of your probation. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And where do you practice?
I'm in Ruidoso, New Mexico.
And is your supervising lawyer in Texas an immigration lawyer?
That is correct.
That's all I have.
Who is your supervising attorney in Texas?
In Texas, it's Miss Rebecca Bustamante. She is for the immigration cases, and there's a Mr. Daniel Bryant for the civil matters.
And where are they located?
Rebecca Bustamante is in El Paso, and Mr. Dan Bryant is in Ruidoso, New Mexico.
Any other questions, Mr. Black?
Ms. Mladek, the rules governing this don't give the board a great deal of discretion on altering a reciprocal discipline. I do want to say that I think we all appreciate very much that you're traveling here to be with us today. And I think that regardless of the outcome, we all wish you every success in the future.
Thank you.
Do you practice in Texas?
I do, sir.
How much of your practice is in Texas?
I have 3 cases in Texas, so maybe 1%.
Are they immigration cases?
No, sir. Immigration is totally separate. The cases in Texas is 2 car crashes and 1 family law.
And my understanding is that you're still practicing in New Mexico even with the order that's been entered. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you understand if the reciprocal is granted as asked for by the commission, that you would still be allowed to practice in Texas subject to the same restrictions, but beginning perhaps in May of this year for 2 years. Do you understand that?
I do, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from anybody? Anything else from Ms. DeBerry? Thank you. You may be excused, and we will have our decision soon and let you know.